Good morning, 488 folks. It's Wednesday morning here, 3/1/2018 or 17. So the semester's flying. We're halfway through. The good news is you're halfway through the hardest part of the course. Some great news. The written work is coming in looking great. I've gotten a few emails in the last couple of days of teams showing me what they have for executive summaries, and man, they're starting to really shape up and look good. So you guys are learning from that. You're getting a point. A lot of the CITO work that I had done looked really good. I think you folks are doing a great job. So what's ahead? Well, we have the midterm ahead. And I launched that on Sunday for you so you could get started. I wanted to give you 2 weeks on that, but I wasn't able to because the university wants grades in for midterm grades. So I cut a couple sections out of it. It's still got some work to it, but I think it's a little bit more, I guess, palatable at this point. So let's take a look at this midterm here for a second here. So how would I approach doing this? Well, the first thing you should probably do is, grab your tablet. Kind of get used to working on a tablet because it's probably what you're going to be writing on in the workplace. And I would start looking at Porter's 5 forces for the companies you chose and just make a list. Write these things down. Don't jump on your computer right away. Just start sketching out how you're going to write this so that it's not so, I guess, frustrating as you get to that computer with an empty page there. All right. So start looking at where Porter really comes in with your company. Let me give you an example. Look at Ford. And what we're really looking at when we talk about Porter is who controls what. Okay, when Ford wants to buy products from its suppliers, who has more control, Ford or its suppliers? Well, it depends on what is being supplied. So remember, commodity items like simple plastic parts, Ford has all the control because they can get that from anybody. So they can control pricing on it. So they can knock prices right down. Why? Because they buy a huge volume, right? They're making millions. So what we're really worried about here and what we're really concerned with when we talk about Porter is who has control and how we make that control equal sustained profits. So with respect to Ford, on a lot of products, including tires, sheet metal, steel, suspension products. I know not everybody's a car person out there, but just kind of hang with me for a minute. We can get those commodity type products about anywhere. Now, when it gets to be more technically leveraged, we have to source those uniquely, and the price is going to go up. So we don't make so much profit on those things. We can make a ton of profit on commodity type products. But in general, Ford has control over its suppliers because it has such huge volume. Okay? Now, let's turn the tables for a minute and think about Ford in terms of its ability to control its customers. Are switching costs between one automobile to the next high? No. So if switching costs are low, I can go from GM to Ford with no real penalty. So I'm in a bind if I'm Ford. I have to keep putting out products that are unique and have some different unique selling points. Okay? So you have to look at this in terms of, if I don't have control over my customers and prices somewhat elastic, which is where we're at, I got to be real careful then about how much I pay to build my product. Okay? So because Ford has such a large volume, they can control the cost that goes in their product, which is good. So that gives them sustained profitability. Another thing that Ford has is they're in a market with very few players. What do we have? 6, 7, right? That's an oligopoly type market. The one problem with the automotive market, though, is there's no clear leader at times during different branding, right? So that makes it tougher because they're always fighting for a market space, right? So as you go through your Porter's model on a company like Ford, you're trying to look at different ways that they can build in sustainable profitability. Okay, let's look at this as related or unrelated, right? Ford has a company called Ford Motor Credit, right? And that's a credit company developed so that they can loan money to buy their cars. Is that a related or unrelated strategy? It's related, right? So GM has the same thing, as a matter of fact. So GM owns several different companies. They make diesel motors. They make some farm implements. Okay, they have GMAC, which is an acceptance corp, which is really about loans, and it's all related, right? Unrelated really is about getting into a different industry altogether. You don't see Ford and GM making airplanes. Okay, so this is how we're thinking about this stuff, and we can sketch this out and write this stuff down. Okay, so the next part of this is thinking about focused, differentiated. How are we going to market? Well, with Ford, it's a little bit of all of it, right? They're focusing on certain markets, like their lower end vehicles. Who are they focusing on? You and me, right? People that want to be cost conscious or price conscious. Okay? And they focus on people that are in school, or they focus on people that are new to the work industry. And if you look at the ads, I dare say some of them are gender focused, you can tell, right? So they differentiate also based on the features they put in the vehicle. Okay, so I'm picking on Ford. I hope you won't use Ford totally in your midterm. I know a lot of you will, but I'm trying to give you sort of a head start here so you understand where I'm coming from with this stuff. So is Ford a low-cost producer? I don't think so. All right, there's companies out there that are low-cost producers. Okay, used to be Hyundai. That was a low-cost car. Kia was considered a budget car. All right, long time ago Toyota was actually. So that's not Ford and not necessarily GM, right? So the key here is that there is combinations, but in terms of Ford and GM, low cost producer, nah. All right. Look at the pizza industry. We have some of the same things happening, right? Little Caesars versus Domino's. Which one's a low cost producer? Little Caesars. Which one differentiates the most? Domino's. Why? Probably because Domino's is using a lot of internet-based sales. They're doing a lot of different product mix type application where they're making different types of pizzas and offering different types of bundling strategies online. It's quite unique, and it's interesting to watch Cottage Inn and Papa John's and some of these other companies try to keep up with what Domino's is doing. It's not that I'm a big Domino's fan, but they are pretty good. So as you go through this, then look at company structures. Now, the case studies will tell you a little bit about the structures. If you're not getting too much information there, take a look at it. Look at their annual reports and take a guess at how they're structured. Are they centralized, decentralized? Usually it'll say somewhere in there that a lot of decision making is here, we're autonomous there. I guarantee you, on companies with global footprints, they're decentralized. All right? So try to pick up some of that information though off of Google or off of their annual reports. Just cite it, okay? So it doesn't look like you made something up or stole it from somebody. All right? SWOT analysis. Listen, it's important that all of you can do a SWOT analysis completely almost in your head. When I taught at Western, I could take the students out to South Haven and we could walk right down Main Street and do a SWOT analysis on all those buildings, all those businesses that were on Main Street. There was probably 20 or 30 of them. We could do a complete SWOT analysis and determine who had competitive strengths and who didn't. I don't have that ability to do that here. So the point is that that's a very key tool to have in your toolbox, and that's why I put it on the midterm. Okay, so try to work through these things. Always available if you need something. Always here to help you guys. I think the companies I put up here are real easy to get information from, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. And if you look at Coca-Cola and Pepsi and some of these bigger companies, you're going to see quite clearly, what kind of strategies they have. All right. So good luck with it. I would say the length, people always want to know how long it needs to be. You know what? Don't worry about that. I would say for me, it's going to be somewhere between 6 and 10 pages. But if you can get it all done and it's concise and well, and 4, great. I couldn't see it much less than 4 or 5. I mean, even if you're really awesome. But for me, I think I'd run 6 to 10 just because I try to get as much detail as I can. I don't want people chasing me down at the office saying, hey, they don't understand this. It's not complete enough. It's ambiguous. That's the last thing you want. All right? You don't want people looking at your written work and saying, this is ambiguous. All right? So the second half is going to get a little bit better. I think you guys have come a long way so far. We have a final exam coming up that's multiple choice out of the book. I hope you guys are looking at the book. You guys should look at right now having that final over pretty much, I believe it was the first 10 chapters. All right? So if you haven't cracked that book, you probably should. Okay? If you haven't gotten the book, then you should work with somebody to share something, because that exam is over a lot of stuff out of the book. All right? Have a great break. Talk to you soon.